Welcome to the Superbold podcast. I have a really interesting and exciting guest on today. Her name is Dr. Elona Gaball, I want to say it right. I'm going to start over. Gaball.
Gaball.
Yeah. Welcome to the Superbold podcast. I have a very exciting guest that I'm having on to talk to today. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Her name is Dr. Elona Gaball, and she is a dentist down in Solana Beach, California. But she does several other things that we're going to dive into that I think are very impactful on the world as well as individuals, as well as she's a terrific dentist. We're going to find out her whole story. Dr. Gaball, welcome to the Superbold podcast.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be
here. I'm always interested in how you got into dentistry, and then in your case, how you got to the U.S. Because I'm detecting a slight accent there. So
yeah, maybe a little. Yeah. Yes. Well, thank you for asking. So yes, so I'll start with that. I did grow up in Russia, St. Petersburg, Russia, and I came to the U.S. at the age of 15. So I am a naturalized citizen. I'm very, very honored to be in this country. I believe it's the most beautiful, amazing country. And so I came as a junior in high school, and it was actually when all the changes were happening in Russia. It was 1990. It was actually the very first time when the borders were open and people were allowed to travel back and forth from the country more or less freely. And there was an opportunity for Russian students to go to the US for a year and go into high school with the host family. It was not really like a true exchange. My family did pay for me to come. And then that's how I came. So I came and I went to Florida, Fort Myers area for the year, and went to high school as a junior. So that's how I came into the country. Then I ended up finishing high school. Well, I actually went back home, then came back. At that time, it still was a better option for me to complete my education. So my family actually, asked me if I wanted to go back. So I did go back, and I went to Michigan for my last year of high school, graduated from high school there. And then kind of on the same note, let's just go ahead and finish your education in the US. And I went to Michigan State, and then I met my most amazing husband, Curtis Gaball, facial plastic surgeon, US Navy captain. So we met in college, and we've been together for 27 years now. So that's how I got here.
Well, I didn't know when this happened. I knew you came from Russia, and you came when it was still the Soviet Union, or it was just dissolving as the Soviet Union. I was in St. Petersburg in '89. So when it was still the SSSR. And so I might have seen you riding the trolley. I'm gonna, not everybody's gonna care about this, but you know the term riding like rabbits, which is you jump on the trolley and don't pay, basically. So that's what we were doing, because we didn't have any rubles. we were I was chaperoning a bunch of college kids. But anyway, yes, you could see the shift about to happen. And so that was Gorbachev, who actually just changed and dissolved the union and made it possible for you to go anywhere you wanted. It was a lot harder for us to go places. And it was a lot harder to get good food. But anyway, so you, what brought you to California to practice?
Yes. So thank you for asking. Well, so yes, we graduated my husband is from Michigan originally, Curtis. And then we went to our medical and dental school in Michigan as well. He's in the Navy, so he's active duty Navy still. And he was stationed in the Naval Hospital San Diego, which is in San Diego. And that's what brought us to this area. But it was also our lifelong dream. Like back in college, that's actually why we went into our professional schools. So he went into facial plastic surgery. I went into dentistry. Our dream was to actually build an aesthetic institute where I would do a smile, he would do a face, and we would do it together in Southern California. So he joined the Navy to be able to be near the water. That is one of the duty stations, San Diego. So
pretty safe conclusion right there. Yeah,
very strategically planned out.
Yeah.
So yes, so he did get stationed there, but he kind of tracked his career in order to be able to be stationed.
Okay,
there.
so the Navy needs plastic surgeons? This is confusing to me. It's like, are the sailors getting nose jobs? What's going on?
Yes. Well, not exactly from that perspective, but yes. So yes, they absolutely need facial plastic surgeons. So he's double board certified ENT facial plastic surgery. So the Navy is an active, fight force, and they do fight, and they do have a lot of war trauma. So people like getting blown up, and a lot of times it's in the face. So then they get stabilized on the field, and then they get transferred to a major referral center where they have, such as San Diego, where they have specialists to be able to put people together. So he works with Navy SEALs and special op people, and he puts them back together after whatever injuries they have. And it's also for the dependents of the active duty members. So all of us like who have a relationship to active duty members, we also can do, and that's not only like all aesthetic only. So it's functional. So there's also birth defects, trauma, like car accidents, fights, things like that. Then post-cancer reconstruction. So it's also open to beneficiaries, like VA beneficiaries, post-cancer reconstruction. And some of it is elective aesthetic, but it's mostly like related to like an ability to, let's say, breathe through the nose and things like that. So, which is we actually just recently spoke at the American Academy of Facial Plastic Surgery meeting 2 weeks ago. It was hosted in San Diego, and he usually gets invited to speak. And we spoke together on how those two specialties actually work together well. Facial plastic surgery and advanced rehabilitative aesthetic, they actually do go together. So
okay, amazing. Yeah, I now that I think about it, of course, that would be extremely necessary. It's not cosmetic in that sense. It is restorative, just like dentistry is. The thing that you got involved in that I want to get to right away is Inspire is a theme. It's the name of your practice, Inspire Smile. But that is really a theme in your life. But in the organization, the nonprofit that you formed, I want to talk about that. Inspire Changes. What's that?
Yeah, thank you for asking. And could I share like a little story about
Absolutely. Yes. This is to me, this is what I want the listeners to really know about as much as anything. I think you're a terrific dentist, and that your story of coming here is great. But this thing that you're doing, I think, is extraordinary. So I want people to know about it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, this is a Superbold podcast, right? So I do have a book. I read the book. It's amazing. And my boldness, so it actually does come from something that happened to me as a child. So I grew up in Russia, and most of my upbringing, my father, he was actually in prison most of my upbringing for, again, he just didn't want to really conform to what was going on in Russia then. And he was very entrepreneurial in nature, which allowed him to actually be really successful once the country was more free. Although that spirit is something that caused him to be basically in prison for things that he did. So with that, I grew up with my mom, and actually he went to prison when I was 2 years old, and my mom was pregnant with my younger sister, and he actually went to prison twice. So the first time was 8 years, and then 5 more after. So when I actually ended up like relating to him like as a person, instead of just going back and forth to prison to visit him, was only when I was 13 years old. So, well, on that note, there was actually, so in Russia back then, so prisons are not like American prisons. So they're very extreme. It's very, very like, intense type of environment. And we were only able to go visit him once a year. And if he had good behavior, then we could have 3 days. So usually he had 3 days, and it was a 3-day trip. So from St. Petersburg, Russia, my mom and I would take this train. That's 3 full 24-hour days, like to go wherever that was. So really, really remote. So that there was an instance where we went the year that we went. I was 11 years old then. So we went there.
Okay, so I want to. Is this Siberia that you have to?
Yeah,
is that,
yeah. Really
okay,
far.
so he literally is like he's been sent to Siberia for
Yes,
prison.
exactly.
Yeah, that's I've heard that that's not a cushy setup there.
It's not a cushy setup. It's not like, TLC Orange is the New Black, nothing like that. Like it's an extreme set of circumstances, like Russian prison, hardcore. And so it's a 3-day train ride. Then you get off the train and then everybody leave, and it's like in the middle of nowhere. Then you wait, and then this truck comes and picks up all the people who are going to visit the prisoners. And then it's like a really long ride. I don't recall how long it was, but it's long. And then there's like multiple security gates, like just very, very like super tight security. So then you basically go in, you stay in the room, and then you can leave. So after the one time when I was 11, we went to visit him on the way back. So the truck picked us up when we were ready to leave. And then we got taken to the train station. And then we were waiting for the train, and it was like really, well, it was a colder day. It was very dim and kind of gloomy, and just like everything you can imagine, like Siberia, like, right, like extreme kind of circumstances. And then when the train came, my mom and I were like the last ones to get on the train for whatever reason. And then basically this lady who was, the conductor or the person checking tickets or whatever, like she was like checking out tickets, and she was like, you guys can get on. And I was like, what? And my mom was like, what are we doing? Like, we're just going to be, and the truck left already. The one who brought us from prison. It's like, there was no one there. It's just she and I, the train, and nothing around. And then like, the train kept ringing the bell. Like, you have to get on, you have to get on. And then basically like there was the third bell or whatever. And she was like, you guys can't get on. And I don't remember what it was, but I was just like in this mode, like, there's no way, like, I'm not going to be left here. No way. Like, we're just getting on this train. And I literally was just like, no, we're getting on this train. And I had my mom, and I was 11. I just got on this step and I pulled my mom on the train because it was already like starting to go. So I see it like moving, and I just like got on, I pulled my mom. I'm like, no, we're staying on this train. So, and well, we got on, and so, but just thinking back, I think it was just something that it definitely required boldness, and perhaps, I didn't prep for it, based on the Bride method, but it was something within me, like, I'm not getting left behind, and I'm taking my loved ones with me. So that ties.
So, well, it was that crucial moment where we're tested to see if we can summon the boldness, even though we're not sure how it's going to go, but it's like, we have to take action. We have to do this. And at 11, you stepped up, whereas a lot of people just go, oh, okay, I guess I can't. And then they're going to freeze to death, basically. God, that was your next option, right? Because it wasn't a nice train station or anything.
No, there was no station. I think it was like some place where it just picked up the people who went, again, to the prisoners. It wasn't a station.
This is amazing. This is like a movie.
It's like a movie, except it was real.
Yeah. So
yes.
So that was your bold move at that early age, and then of course it takes a lot of boldness to say, I'm going to move to the U.S. and start a life. But what prompted you to form the charitable organization? That's what I want to hear too.
Yes. Well, it does tie into it. So then
Yes.
when I came here again, it got established. We moved here, got the practice 7 years ago. I can go into that a little bit more. And then just really searching well, I wasn't doing well 2 years into my practice. In fact, I was in the minus each, like towards the end of that second year. I think October, I had to pay, I think $8,000 or something like that. Then November it was like 10, and then December it was 12. And then my husband was like, that's it, let's not do this. This is crazy. So then I ended up meeting an amazing coach who's like, okay, I'm going to help you. We're going to take care of this and transform your practice. You're going to do great. If you want to sell, but it's going to be worth a lot of money. So he helped me. And then I ended up meeting Fortune Management. That's how I met you, actually. So anyways, and I got the practice turned around. I'll just fast forward to where we are like far superseding all goals and doing an amazing job for patients. And well, on that same note, I engaged in a lot of basically my first coach, he kind of looked at me and he was like, okay, well, what do you want in life? Like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do in your practice? And I basically told him like, well, Curtis and I, we want to build this amazing institute. We want to do this. And I want to be ACD accredited, all of these things. And he kind of looked at me and he was like, okay, good, but not like that. So basically what that said, and I cried and was so upset. But then I like thought about it. I was like, yes, I'm not that person who would do all of those things. I have to work on myself. And then I ended up engaging in a lot of very intense personal development to be able to be this person, which is why I also like the book, because it is that, right? Like you have to get whatever it is that's in the way out before you can be this amazing human being that you already are, right? Like we have to remove the constraint. So on that same note, as part of it, and just in general, like, okay, well, I got this amazing opportunity. I can make this anything I want. I know I can accomplish all these great things, especially like when I remove all the constraints and limitations and I could see myself like doing better and better and better, then like, what is this all about? Just about me being great and amazing? Like, well, there's a deeper call, upon my life that I'm about, really. So in the process of personal development and like seeking what's in my heart, what my purpose is, it was just that. Like I just remembered all those times when my mom, again, like we barely had money, like we had no food sometimes. Like she would work, she would work 11 through 8 and then go to school till 11 p.m. And like it was always just on me. From 3 years old, it was myself. I had to watch my baby sister. At 5 years old, I was like completely self-sufficient. My mom was like working and going to school, and I had to, do things for her, like as a mom, basically. So, and, there were a lot of things that happened kind of, I think I was just divinely protected, but like a lot of things could have happened to me because we were very unsupported in a lot of ways. And then, then like, again, through that work, I was like, okay, well, how do I want to make a difference? How do I want, yes, I want to be a great dentist. Yes, I want to have a successful practice, but like, what is like really going to make a difference, like in terms of like me making a contribution to the world at large, like fulfill me beyond just success as a professional, right? So, and then it was just that, like I just, would hear stories of women who have been trafficked or gone through sexual abuse, domestic violence. And then I started learning more about what trafficking is, because that's not prostitution. That is like the only form of slavery remaining in the United States. It is literally slavery. It is against people's will. And this is a free country. Like I came here, I got freed from, again, all the things that we had as a constraint. Women do not have rights in Russia. They do not have freedom of ability to do anything for themselves. It is very, very restricting and constraining. And then like, this is not the kind of country where we have that. And the slavery was abolished how many years ago, right? And this is like literally happening in San Diego. Up to 8,000 women like traffic, not prostitution, like traffic, not trading.
Right. They've been enslaved, captured and enslaved and forced to work in brothels.
worse. And then, they get pregnant, they get forced abortions, they traffic the babies. Like, it is insane, like so crazy. And
Wow.
like people are like, oh, like it's happening. So anyway, so once I started learning more about it, then I contacted the local rehabilitation center that has housing, safe housing, and I started asking questions and learning. That is by, again, our DA's attorney statistics, FBA statistics, 3,500 up to 8,000 trafficked every year in San Diego, like San Diego County, not even OC, not LA. So not Mexico. This isn't talking about in the US citizens, all of them, residents of San Diego County. So not being brought from anywhere. Like, though, that's more than that. So, while on that same note, I was like, okay, well, my dad, again, he was in prison. He got out. He was like, okay, I'm going to give my daughter, right, a greater future, like send her to this country that she's going to be free. She's going to be able to marry freely, be able to make something of herself and build something for herself. And then I felt like that is just the call upon my life, is to, like, I can't allow this to happen. Like, and then I was so busy again at my practice, like, well, what am I going to do? Right. Then a lot of us like want to do something, but like, well, I can't, it's so big, right? Well, it is big, but you can do something. So it's like, okay, well, I have a dental practice, and what can I do is I could just take one person and fix their mouth, right? I can fix their smile. And then basically that's how I started. I just adopted one lady, and and again, not to go into a lot of details on what happens. I think all of us could probably imagine that. But there's a lot of trauma, a lot of abuse, a lot of neglect, and it literally like just breaks people. Like, they get so traumatized, and like every time, like we had ladies, like every time I look in the mirror, all I see is that incident that caused this, my broken tooth in the front. And not only that I feel, completely, violated and all those things, but like I can't like break that trauma, because every time I see myself in the mirror, I go back to that trauma. And just restoring the smile, she was like, oh my gosh, like I look at myself and it's no longer there. Like, in addition to, of course, the smile and the benefits of that, not to minimize that, but it like broke that internal PTSD that she basically had. And then I was like, well, this is what I'm meant to do. That's why I'm here. That's why I want to succeed. That's why I want to do well. That's why I want to have an amazing practice, so I can give back more. And we literally, that year, I said, we're going to measure our success not by, yes, we have our production goals, we do all that really, really at high level, but how much we can give. So that year it was like, we're just gonna do more. And then each year we just, okay, if we basically the more we give, the more I consider us being successful. And each year we've exceeded it. Last year I think we gave almost 130,000 in just contribution efforts. And and each year as a business, we've grown like dramatically.
So I want to go back and just really talk about these women who have been brought in, and I say women, most of the time they're girls. They're
young. So it says
they're brought in very young, and as you say, it's along with the sexual abuse, there's physical abuse there, and of course they're not going to the dentist, nobody's taking care of their teeth or anything like that. They are in the worst possible situation. But what's fascinating is you realized with that first patient that treating her smile, restoring her smile, broke the link to the triggers for PTSD of that very traumatic life that they've led, and they can begin again. And so you're treating many of these women and also raising money to help them get their lives started. And so you've created a nonprofit organization to raise money to help these people, and also and are you encouraging other dentists to participate in this and do the dentistry also?
Yes, absolutely. So yes, so with that first lady, just again became more and more, and then again, since we do have in general a for-profit business, to make it something sustainable, to be able to do more, like, and also invite other providers and expand it beyond myself. The only solution really was to create my own nonprofit, to have more resources and be able to, again, like employ people, right? So it's actually set up for the nonprofit, the organization who helped me to set up the nonprofit. They mostly work with dentists and medical providers. And there is a way to actually have student loans forgiven as a way of, there's a government grant that allows for that, like as of working for like a prison, let's say. A lot of people do that sometimes out of school to be able to have their student loans forgiven. So it works exactly the same way. And I don't have student loans, but it was just me thinking like long term, like how can I expand it more beyond myself? So at some point, yes, I can have another provider who basically does the same thing we do, and they can be, like work for our nonprofit essentially as one of the service providers, and then they can have their student loans forgiven as well as just give back and help. Yes. And then we have a way to contribute, like for example, in our dental practice, we have these amazing, beautiful cards we give to people. And they have
QR. Yeah, well, and I will have the information in the show notes.
Yes, so 10%, like let's say for anything elective aesthetic, 10% immediately goes to our nonprofit. So like if I'm talking to a patient, like, hey, Fred, like awesome, you want to do New Year's? Great, let's do this, right? And you're like excited, you wait. I'm like, okay, well, awesome, like it's going to change your life. Here's before and afters, you're all good to go. And on like not only that it's going to change your life, actually it's going to change the life of another human being who would never be able to afford this on their own. So I take 10% of whatever the fee was and just give it back to our nonprofit, like right there. And in addition, if you feel called to, you can also contribute. It's tax deductible if you want to do it. Awesome. But I would do it for you just out of whatever the fee is that normally goes to us. So I feel like that just invites our community of patients and allows us to share more, just so people kind of know more. And then if they want to learn more, people usually like schedule a call or I go for coffee with our patients and tell them about it.
So how long have you been doing this now?
So we got our, so in general, contributing more specifically to survivors and women who have gone through things. We also adopt a lot of other people in need, but it's more like for that specific population for 5 years. And then nonprofit itself, I got my 501c3 December 2021.
Okay. Yeah. So what you found is that a purpose beyond a very good calling, which is to be a dentist, and you decided that you had a even higher calling to help these women. And I think that's, dentists who do that. I think some dentists forget that they're the greatest thing they have to give away is their skill. But we, through Fortune Management, we work with Freedom Day, which treats veterans every year. Yes. And there are other organizations that treat battered women, and it's a similar problem. It's hard to go get a job with broken teeth and a an unhealthy looking smile. But I think this thing, I had never really thought about it, but it's the idea of it erasing the connection to the trauma by fixing their teeth. This is a great thing that dentists can do, and it's wonderful that you're doing this. And we're going to make sure people know that they can donate to this, and that other dentists can also be doing this themselves. So there's a center in San Diego that has rescued these women, a shelter. Is that how you're meeting these women?
Yes, there's a residential program. So yes, there is initial rescue, and once the person is stabilized, like medically, there's drugs, are a big deal too. So women get forced drugged like almost all the time. So they have to get through like recovery. There's a lot of like mental disorders. So it's like you're not dealing with regular people. Like they've gone through like extreme trauma. So they have to get stable, and then they have an opportunity to be in the residential housing kind of recovery center. And then, then from there, I meet them from there. Yeah, for the most part. Or like people who have graduated the program, once they get the organization, it's Alabaster Jar Project is who I work with primarily. So they help them to get a job and like get set up on their own to be able to live on their own. And then they have ongoing programs for women who graduated the program to come in on a weekly basis for support and things like that. So some of them don't actively live as a residential client of Alabaster Jar, and then they branch off on their own. So I meet them sometimes just as a referral from Alabaster Jar.
So that's Alabaster Jar. What? How do you spell that?
Alabaster Jar Project. It's
Oh,
it's another nonprofit organization, but they
very,
deal with like the basically residential. Well, they have housing, they have support, they have training. So there's obviously more to be done, about trafficking. It's just more to the point of like, okay, as a dentist, I mean, there are other things like, let's say, like you said, veterans, like, oh, well, like, what can I do? But like, as a dentist, what can we do? We can do the smile, like get people healthy, get them to function well, smile, look good, right? That not only allows them to get a job, but also like form a high quality relationship, like transforms their identity. And that's known in aesthetic dentistry. In fact, like when we spoke at the American Academy of Facial Plastic Surgery, like that was the part that I spoke on, like studies show that the way we perceive ourselves as attractive is primarily based on our smile. And the way that people perceive us as attractive or not is also primarily based on the smile. So smile plays like a huge role in our own sense of attractiveness, other people's sense or a perception of our attractiveness, as well as self-esteem and self-confidence. So that's why aesthetic dentistry is like a great field to be in, because it helps people not just to, look good, but it like changes who they are. But like, again, for people like that, be it a veteran, homeless person, whatever, right? Like people who just can do it on their own, it literally changes their lives. So
I think that we all know this because we work in the dental industry, but so much of people's self-esteem can be increased radically by taking care of their smile, by getting the we call it cosmetic work, but it's really restorative work to give them an attractive, healthy looking smile. It changes how they feel about themselves and how they move through the world. And of course, their employability, their ability to attract, maybe a better mate, even or a more appropriate mate. This is elevating their lives, and so it's important to realize how much you can do as dentists. And I think people need to realize that this is what dentists do for many, many people. If you just are one of those people and you have nice teeth and you get them cleaned and you don't really think about it, there's a whole lot of people that are getting treated by dentists all across the country whose lives are transformed by the work that those dentists are doing. They move through the world in a different way, in a better way. And I talk about being bold and being super bold. You have to have that basic level of confidence in yourself to feel like you are worthy of going out in the world and meeting people and doing jobs and things like that. If you've been beaten down, literally or figuratively or both, it's a hard step up to just move through the world like the rest of us do, and fairly comfortably. So I commend you for doing this fantastic project and this charity work. You really have found a way to create a higher purpose for yourself, and I hope that inspires other people, because that's your thing, inspiring people. So it certainly inspires me to hear your story, your life story of how you got here, and how far you've taken it and how far you're going to go. So thank you so much for that. If you had something you wanted to tell a young woman who is trying to figure out what to do with her life, she's 21 years old and trying to decide how to pursue her life, what would you tell her? Putting you on the spot here.
Great question. Yes. So thank you for asking. What I would tell her is that she's capable of a lot more than she may think. And that's just where I was. I knew it, but it was, again, like because we all grow up, however, right? And all these things, just happen. Obviously, we don't get born with all kinds of limitations and constraints. We're happy, and that's part of you talk, I think, and the book. Like, you're happy as a child, and you just have fun, and you go up and talk to people, right? We don't have, 2-year-olds and not worried about what other people are going to think of them. They just have fun interacting with people. So, and, like, all of us go through things, and as we go through things, it forms our identity. And like, each time something happens that's uncomfortable, be it like the extreme situation or not, it constrains us more and more and more, right? And then eventually we just think, oh, that's how I am. I am just, very reserved, and I need to be professional, and I'm not sure if I can do all this. And I spend most of my years raising children, and I work part-time, but I'm not like this big ACD dentist. I don't know. I'm not sure if women can do all these things. Like, those are the things that were going through my head. And those are just like basically made up stories, right? That I had based on all the things that have happened. And once I realized like they weren't true, like that's not who I was. And in fact, that not only that, removing the constraint allowed me to have the self-expression that was already there, that was like created within me. Like, that's true of all of us, right? We are created by design. However you believe, that to be the case, we will have a purpose and design and a certain way of how we are, right? So, and that just, when it comes like fully expressed, that's when you can be truly free, and you can just have an amazing life. And that is a responsibility we have as human beings, is to have that life and allow other people, like you were, sharing in your story, like we get to meet Fred now. Like, you allow other people the gift of being with you as who you truly are, without all kinds of issues and barriers and restraints. Like, I get to experience Fred, happy and amazing human being that you are, right? And back whenever you were the shy one, like, that wasn't you, but like, whoever knew you then didn't get to experience you as who, like, all that was inside. So for a young woman, like, well, I think, again, what helped me is like engaging in this like intense personal development. That's like, it's like a responsibility. You have to take ownership of yourself, just for yourself to have an amazing life, because it is not only possible, it's real, and you can do it. But there are things that hold you back, absolutely. And until you like are aware of them and can remove them and know that none of them are true, and you could just be however it is that you feel, that you want to be, and create things that you believe in and you can do, then you're not going to have all of what life has for all of us, and other people don't get to experience it. So just, yes, like, engage in personal development. And that's actually what led me to the coaching, because I've been coached. I got a lot of value from that, and I got an amazing opportunity to work with Fortune Management. They like came and like helped me, and I have 3 coaches now, and one for professional, one for personal, and one for 2 actually for my practice. I got double from Fortune Management. And like, those people, like, they literally changed my life. And I think it's just critical to find somebody that a young woman can work with, who could like literally speak life into her. Like, no, like, this is not true. This is true. And work through all of those things. And create an amazing life. Like, where again, people like, how are you doing this? It's like, well, I don't have more time. Like, you don't have more time than anyone. None of us have more time than anyone else. But when you don't have all these things holding you back, like, you could do a lot. I have a successful practice. I have an amazing marriage. I work out every single day. I go to yoga classes. I do a lot of giving back. I help with my church. I work on, public speaking is the next thing, where Curtis and I, my husband and I, are working on like actually presentations on like speaking engagements, and and I have time to meet everybody.
You definitely have more hours in the day than I do. I don't have that many hours, as many as you. You're finding bonus time somewhere. I don't know how you're doing it. You've got to develop the time warp where you get extra hours every day to do all that. But no, you are very inspiring, and I think that basic message that you said when you started talking about this is, you're capable of much more than you think you are, is a huge message for young women, for young men, for anyone who is looking at life out in front of them. And the other thing that you said, which is huge, is get open to coaching, get feedback, so that you can shed these things that are holding you back. Stop, because you're stopping you more than anything else is stopping you. It's one of the themes of my book as well. But you're living proof that don't be the one stopping you. Go out there and try these things and see what you can accomplish. And it becomes amazing how much you can accomplish in a month, in a year, in a decade, when you put your mind to it and you just say, I think I can.
Yeah. And you get to enjoy life, which is not a small,
That's a pretty big reward.
Yes, you get to have a
it.
great day every day, no matter what happens, right? None of us can control what happens, but how we are with whatever it is has everything to do with how we experience it. And as a matter of like personal responsibility, I want other people to experience a beautiful life. And I have a say in that, because how I show up and how I deal with whatever is at hand has everything to do with my own experience, which also produces that experience for the 5 people who work with me and all the people who come in. And that is an amazing gift that we can give other people. And that's, again, that's why I got also certified as a coach, because I want to give back and I don't want to see other women crying. Like, I still cry in my office a lot, but usually not for the same reasons. So not actually, that's lessened, I would say. But like, I was crying more out of a state of defeat and like I just can't, I can't. But so, and that's just not true. And again, like that first coach that I had, he was like, no, you like, these are amazing things, but you can't do them like that. Like, how you are has everything to do with how whether or not you can achieve that. And as heartbreaking as it may seem, it's like the best gift anybody could receive. Like, someone just has to be like, no, like, there's more to you than that. And I'm not letting you play small and be, defeated and think all this stuff and walk, by you and with you to see freedom and power and self-expression and just joy in general. So,
well, I think that's a great message to end on. And so, Dr. Gaball, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure getting to know you and running into you in the various places that I see you. So thank you for the work you do and the inspiration that you are providing to people and this message that you are giving to the world here through this podcast. So thanks for giving us your time, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Great. You're welcome. Thank you so much for inviting me.
All right.